Sakafet, welcome to Unfiltered Limin Podcast. Join us as we reflect on our personal journeys and share our insights, experiences, and stories. From food to music, language to customs, we explore what it means to straddle two cultures and find a sense of belonging in both. Whether you're a first-time generation Caribbean American, a seasoned veteran, or simply curious about the rich tapestries of cultures that make up the Caribbean diaspora, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts, Lisa, the Dominica Diva.
Bertide, the Haitian sensation.
No one's talking, so let's get unfiltered.
All right, let's go. What up, B?
What up, L?
Let's go.
Welcome
back. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. If you've been listening or you're new to the podcast, first let's start off by introducing ourselves if you're new. My name is Lisa. I'm the Dominica Diva.
And I am Bertide, the Haitian sensation.
And if you've been listening or new to our show, we have made some exciting changes during our break. We have updated our logo and given our podcast a new look and feel, and we hope you like it.
Indeed, indeed. And in addition to our new visual identity, we've also made some changes to our team. Unfortunately, the T and BLT has decided to part ways with the show. We wish her all the best in her future endeavor and thank her for her contribution to the show. Right, Al?
Yep. Thanks, T. As a result of this change, we are now a team of 2. But don't worry, we're still committed to bringing you the best content possible. In fact, we're excited to announce that we'll be featuring entrepreneurs from our community as special guests throughout the season.
That's right. They'll be sharing their tips and their tools on how to navigate between Caribbean and American culture, as well as other topics that we know you'll love.
Yes. And speaking about YouTube, I know those of you have been listening to us for the last 4 years. Oh, I shouldn't say 4 years. It hasn't been 4 years. It's been 2 years. But for the last 4 seasons, now we're on YouTube. And in previous seasons, you learned about who we were or who we are, about each of our countries and our families. We'll also be talking about current affairs this time, and also how we handle certain situations based on our upbringing. So stay tuned. It's going to get interesting.
Yes. Entertaining, right?
Yeah, very entertaining. Because also, too, another thing that we do talk about is how being Caribbean and with the current affairs, how our families would handle that opposed to how usually American culture would handle that. So that's the part that's really interesting that you definitely should tune in to look forward to hearing about that.
Yes, all the fun, entertaining. What else, Elle, are we going to be discussing? Or what are you looking most forward to with being on YouTube and the topics we're going to talk about?
Of course, talking about more of the same things, but also be able to really connect with our listeners, which our listeners are the D-Limin crew. So those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, our listeners and subscribers, we call them the D-Limin crew. So what does that mean? That once you subscribe or now click in or download, listen to our episodes, you are now a part of the D-Limin crew.
Yes.
So with that, now you're able to see who we are. Before you just heard us, now you get to see us.
Yes, that is correct. We're excited.
And what do you have, B?
What do I have? With this new chapter, this new identity, this new rebranding, you could call it, right? Is what we're doing. We learned a lot, right, Elle, during this process. There were some.
Why don't you tell them some of what we learned?
We learned that it's okay to rebrand. We learned that a lot of big organizations such as McDonald's, Home Depot, LinkedIn, a lot of major companies actually rebrand all the time to keep up with the current the current flow of society, because you also have to remember people's attention span change, right? New generation come along. So like to keep people's attention, you have to rebrand. You have to learn what's current, what's not, what people like, what people don't like, how your brand connects and engage with your listeners or your fans or your followers or your customers or your clients. So we did learn that it's okay to rebrand, because we did have a lot of questions. We didn't know how we were going to do it, but we did actually bring in an expert that knows all about rebranding. So that's one of the things too. If you are in the process of rebranding yourself, your company, your family, whatever it is, it's okay to seek out and do your research and get the insight of an expert to actually rebrand and ask a lot of questions. So thank you for being able to answer our questions to help us make this process and this transition of rebranding smooth and not so scary, because, you know, in the process of rebranding, you never know what's going to happen, right? Like you just never know. But one of the things that we also in our discussion is we found out that as Caribbean, right, you come to this being first generation, and like Lisa always says, being double agent. When you leave your parents' house, you got to rebrand yourself, Caribbean people. Like you really
every day.
Yeah, right. Even when you lived in your parents' house and you go into like your American school and society, we're rebranding all the time. So we've all had to rebrand ourselves to kind of like, you know, figure out who we are, where we want to be. You know, every season of our life, there's a rebranding. So yes, we're excited. So that's what we learned. Some of the things that we learned, some of the things that, you know, we want to share with you. We want you to share with us. If you have tips and tools as an entrepreneur, again, in our community, that's one of the things that you want to come on and talk to the people about, how to rebrand properly, how to not be afraid to rebrand. Please feel free to hit us up somewhere. We're going to put our, you know, since we're new to YouTube, we don't know where these squares and links are. So I'm just going to point, and it's going to be somewhere, or you could just look somewhere down here about the information, how to connect with us. So yeah, anything else that you learned about rebranding or the process that you want to share?
I think the major thing for me is that you don't have to necessarily start all over. That was the big takeaway for me. You don't really have to start all over and delete everything and wipe everything out. That you don't have to do. So
it could be minor. Yeah. It could be minor, or it could be, you know, a lot of actually big corporation or minor. Like you don't even realize unless you're a person that knows, like, oh my gosh, something's changed. But most of the time with a lot of companies, they've rebranded like 2 or 3 times, and you guys just probably don't even realize until you really look closely. So yeah, you know, people change CEO of a company, CFO, and there's new direction, new owners, and they rebrand. So all of that, it's good to rebrand. It's good, and it's like a positive thing. You have to think about it this way. It's a good thing to rebrand. And I'm not saying like don't keep the stuff that works, but a refresh is always good. You know what I mean? And that's what rebranding is to look where you are. And again, with us is, you know, being a team now of 2 and 3. So we had to have the discussion of how it was going to look, how we were going to transition, to make sure that we keep you guys that's been supporting us and listening to us in season 1, you know, engaged. And we wanted to come back because you guys have been asking when we're going to come back. You've been, you know, hitting us up that you miss our episodes that come out every Thursday. So we want to, you know, get back and say thank you for the support and also give back to you guys. So that's one of the reasons too. You know, the Limin crew. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we're really excited about this new direction of our podcast, and we hope you are too. As always, we welcome your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. You can reach us through social media or email. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Bye. Peace. Connect with us.
Yes. Listen and subscribe.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Unfiltered Limin Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained some valuable insight. Don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can catch every new episode, and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh, exciting content. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss or a story you'd like to share, please reach out to us via our website. Join us again next Thursday for another unfiltered conversation about the rich diversity and complexity of the Caribbean American experience. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep celebrating the unique cultural heritage that makes us who we are. Unfiltered Limin is edited and produced by Unfiltered Limin.